2 seasons ago, we had the B-League block pushing as Event 3, and today we have the very same thing in the Martian Dome. Hello everyone, I am your host Quack, and today we have the third event of the B-League this season, where right now the Flashbangs have the point lead narrowly over the Terror Titans, both of whom start off with back-to-back medals. Meanwhile, the Wavebreakers are leading an incredibly tight midfield, as we'll see how that changes heading into this next event. We saw Sprint last event with a pure test of speed, and we're back on the same track actually for block pushing. There's no distance drag to separate them, unlike in the main league, but we've seen this event in the main league. It really needs no introduction. The teams will be running down this track, and they'll be trying to push the blocks as far as possible. We begin with the Gugos, the Purple Flames, the Slush Rush, and the Checkmates, and it looks like the Checkmates are off to the best start here, getting around the 60 centimeter mark. That's usually a pretty good run. You want to be at least past the 60 to try and contend, and as we saw in the main league, only the 2 best runs are going to count for each team, so you only need to be good 2 times. So the teams like the Gugos starting off with a 43.2, a very paltry score, they have a chance to redeem themselves. Slush Rush also not up to their usual form, considering they're one of those teams that's only in the B-League for the very first time. They're trying to improve upon that here. It looks like the Checkmates will once again be the best of the runners here. The Purple Flames, and actually this might be the same order now that I'm looking at it, but Slush Rush once again not living up to the potential that they've shown in previous seasons here, getting around the mid-50s once again, but a 59.8. No one quite able to reach the 60 here, but still very solid so far for the Checkmates. Now they switch lanes and keep going. We're going to see some of the scores start to not count here as we're already in the third run. It looks like Slush Rush this time were good, but the Purple Flames have a great last gasp effort, and they will be getting the best score of these. I didn't see what the numbers were looking like, though. I'm not sure. Did they get to the 60, maybe around it? Yes, they definitely did. That might be the best run we've seen yet this entire event so far. A 62.8 is a great run for the Purple Flames. Meanwhile, the Checkmates are the only ones to not improve, but they still get a 57.8, which just goes to show how solid they've been. Now it's time for the final run. At this point, the Gugos and Slush Rush look like they might already be out of it. The Purple Flames looking pretty solid so far, but the Checkmates will be improving once again, getting a great run here. The Purple Flames in second, and this was perhaps the most consistent run we've seen between any of these and the main league runs. Really, everyone getting almost the exact same results every time. The Purple Flames pulling off a bit of an upset in that last one, but it will be the Gugos actually who also improve. The Checkmates do as well, of course, with that 62.9, and they will be starting off with P1 with a 123.7. That actually would not have even medaled in the main league, but I guess it just goes to show the main league teams deserve to be there. Now we move on to the Balls of Water, Soaring Skies, Positrons, and Wavebreakers in this one. The 2 water rivals at it once again, but the Soaring Skies will be pushing way past the rest of the teams here. Unsurprising, they won the gold medal in this event back in the B-League in Season 1, but of course with such a different format, it's impressive that it's still those skills still translate. The Wavebreakers also looking pretty solid as they were in the friendly round, and right now they're third in the standings, so they really want to rack up those points if possible, and it looks like they're off to a good start. Now we swap lanes once again. This time those aforementioned water teams are right next to each other, and luckily the lanes are well separated, so I don't think they'll be messing with each other's runs, but the Wavebreakers will just barely get the best run of these 4, I think, over the Soaring Skies. So it was very close between those 2, and the Positrons were even not too far off, but they had a much weaker formation out of the gate that's going to result in a slightly weaker performance, but really everyone separated by just over 3 centimeters. The Wavebreakers get the best here, though, with a 56.9, as now we move on to run 3. None of these teams so far really seem to be stacking up to the Checkmates from Heat 1, though. Will anyone be able to improve? It looks like the Wavebreakers definitely will here, getting up to the 62 almost, and that was very solid for them. They might be able to challenge. We know the Soaring Skies also looking solid, but not quite amazing. They're really going to need a great effort in the final heat. We know the Balls of Water and Positrons really not living up to their standards here, especially the Positrons, who are very weak here. The Balls of Water have also been shockingly quiet, not just in this event, but in the entire B-League so far. Only two points in the first 2 events. And now it's time for the final run. Will any of these teams make a challenge at the gold? The Soaring Skies are going to get past 65, it looks like, and the Soaring Skies might have a chance. The Wavebreakers are also looking solid, getting past the 60, but I'm not sure if that's going to be enough to stack up to the Soaring Skies in the bottom lane. The Balls of Water also not looking too bad here. They might have finally gotten something going. And actually, all 4 of the teams will improve here, but a 65.7, I think, is the best run we've seen all day, and one of the best runs we've seen since the main league. A 128.7 will be enough to take P1. Unsurprisingly, the Wavebreakers also taking P3. Meanwhile, the Balls of Water and Positrons, unfortunately, struggling once again here. The Gugos, I didn't even notice, they actually got less than 100 in their combined score. Disastrous for them, worse than anyone in the main league. But the Soaring Skies lead at the halfway point, I suppose unsurprising for the team that won this event back in Season 1. Now the Pink Pallets, Wizard Lizards, Gigawatts, and the point leaders, well, not point leaders, but the point second placers, the Terra Titans, will be doing a great job here, and those are the 4 teams in this heat. The Gigawatts not looking the greatest, considering they're one of those teams that's not the greatest in general. The Pink Pallets also not looking too good here, but everyone getting at least past 55, it looks like, actually pretty solid across the board, but a 65.8 I think might be the best run we've seen yet today. The Terra Titans could be making a run at a 3rd consecutive medal here, at least trying to do so. Now we'll see how they do in the next lane. As they come down, it looks like they're off to a great start here, and once again, they'll be pushing past the rest. You know, the Wizard Lizards not doing great here. The Season 1 B-League champions have really struggled in their careers ever since then, but so far they're not looking the greatest in this event either. They're also currently lower in the standings, and a 51.0 is not going to help, but a 60.9 back-to-back 60-plus runs for the Terra Titans could show some promise. We'll see if they can keep that momentum up, though. I'm not sure where they'd fall if the results were to end right now, but I'd be willing to bet it's toward the top. But the Pink Pallets this time will actually be getting the best run here. The Gigawatts not looking the greatest in that top lane, but the Pink Pallets might be coming to play here. They're currently in the provisional relegation zone after 2 events, and they might be trying to get out of it with a good run here. We'll see. A 60.1 is not the greatest, but it's still enough to improve. Meanwhile, the Terra Titans and Gigawatts are not going to do the same as we move on to the final run now. Will any of these teams have a challenge for the Soaring Skies? We shall see as they come down now. It looks like the Wizard Lizards were the first of the blocks, but the Pink Pallets once again will be getting the best run here, just barely over the Terra Titans. But I'm not even sure, did anyone improve here? The runs in general didn't look the greatest. A lot of collisions within their teammates, not looking the greatest here, and the Pink Pallets and Gigawatts will be improving, the Terra Titans will not, so we'll have to see if those first 2 runs from them will be enough to stack up, and it will be enough for P2, actually. It's not quite enough to take the gold. You know, the Pink Pallets actually surprisingly low in the results. I thought they'd be better, but it's only going to be P5. Now I move on to the Orange Fizz, Rhapsody in Blue, Rose Rollers, and the point leaders, the Flashbangs in the bottom lane, but they're going to have a much weaker run than everyone else here. The Orange Fizz will be starting off past 61, very solid for them. While the Rose Rollers also not looking too bad here, and Rhapsody in Blue so far not really competing here, but considering how they usually do, it's not too surprising, but a 61.3, not too shabby. Meanwhile, a 44 is disastrous for the Flashbangs. They're going to need to get off on the right foot with this next run if they want to get their 3rd consecutive medal. Now let's see how they do here as they come down once again. The Rose Rollers looking solid. They're going to push past the Orange Fizz, and they'll be getting the best run of these. They look pretty solid from them. The Orange Fizz also not looking too bad here. They could be making a run for a medal. Meanwhile, Rhapsody in Blue and Flashbangs, once again, not really in contention here, at least getting past 55 for the Flashbangs, but a 63.6 is very solid for the Rose Rollers. They got a medal in this event back in Season 1. They'd like to do it again, evidently. Let's see if they can do it here now from the top lane, as these teams already know what they have to stack up to. They only have 2 more chances. The Orange Fizz looking very solid here, but the Rhapsody in Blue way behind the rest. Everyone else very close to Flashbangs, finally getting something going in this later run. Perhaps getting their momentum back finally, and they're going to get around the 59, I think, but 61.6 is another very solid run. The Rose Rollers, the only ones to not improve here. Meanwhile, a 44.7, it might be too late for Rhapsody in Blue. The final run of the day now. Will any of these teams challenge the Soaring Skies? As they come down now, the Flashbangs on the top lane look solid, but the Orange Fizz have a great run in that middle lane, and suddenly they might be a challenger. They've already had some great runs, and that looked like it was out near the 66. That was a great run from them. The Rose Rollers unfortunately squandering their potential here, but a 66.1, will that be enough combined with their previous runs? I think it just might be, but a 60.6 for the Flashbangs, very solid. And it's not enough. The Orange Fizz will have to settle for the silver. Heartbreaking for them. They've still never won a gold medal in this B-League, and unfortunately, they'll be only getting a silver here. But of course, this means this is actually the same top 2 as we saw in this event back in the Season 1 B-League, with the Soaring Skies finally getting a gold medal. They haven't got a medal in anything in so long. It's been such a struggle over the course of Season 2, and now they're finally back on top of the podium. The Soaring Skies are going to be loving this. They've struggled so much, and Orange Fizz have as well. They're finally finding their footing again, getting a medal here. Well, the Terra Titans snuck up onto the podium, and they'll be taking the point lead, actually, from the Flashbangs. 3 medals in a row to start the season off, and the reigning B-League champions are trying to continue being the reigning B-League champions here with 55 points to the Flashbangs' 54. It's reminiscent of the main league almost, how consistent these top teams have been. But we'll see how the Flashbangs and Terra Titans do as we head into the next B-League event, which will be Sand Moguls. Of course, before that, we head back to the main league for Funnel Duels. So stay tuned, and thank you for watching.